Hello. Now I'm going to show you another layer of the architecture of the quizzes tutor and in the context of the dashboard where you basically can automatically write or write code to automatically test the web services, the REST service layer. So on top of the REST service layer, you have another layer, which is the REST service test layer. In this case, I'm going to show you using the Get Dashboard website web service IT. So these integration tests of web services should use the finish with the suffix with the IT. And what happens is that it's going to do a remote invocation, so an HTTP a REST invocation to the server, and then check the results. And we're going to using Spock as usual. Again, the DTO objects are used also for the communication between these two layers. Actually, when you are testing it here, it goes as an intermediate DTOs here, which are JSON. But since you are using Groovy here, you receive Groovy objects. Okay, we'll see that when you invoke these with the front end, we'll see that with the front end, then you get the JSON objects in the front end. Okay, let's just show an example, and here you have the web service you want to test is the Get Dashboard student, which the URL or the path is students dashboard executions and course execution ID, which is the path variable, and then here we distinguish between service and web service tests in the test packet. So we have a dashboard and we have this test here. Okay. So what you need to do to implement a test, the idea here is not to do very complex tests. We have done you have tested most of the business logic or all the business logic using the service tests. Here is just to see if actually you can correctly invoke the web service, and if you receive data, for instance, if you receive the correct data. Okay, so if the conversion it is okay. So in this case, what you're going to define, you're going to define the Spring Boot test. Okay, it's this annotation, and you're going to define that Spring Boot test is going to use a web environment with random ports. The importance of using random ports is that when you run your tests, if you actually don't use random ports, the test will run in port 8080, okay? Or the server will be in port 8080. But suppose that you have the server launch for any reason, or so actually the test will fail. So each test basically plays with dynamic ports, so it's independent. The test becomes really independent of what's happening in your machine. And for that reason, you define this annotation and you define the port here, and you see that then I do the REST client invocation here. Look, I go to localhost, okay, but the port is the one that is dynamically generated here. So there's no collision in the ports. Okay. So the test, as usual, has two parts or three parts: setup, the test itself, and in this case, since we are going to work with a real database, so these are the integration tests where you use the real database. It's important that at the end you just clean the objects we have created in the database, such that the next test works with a clean database. Okay. So what is the first thing we're going to do during the setup? We basically define our REST client, okay, that is going to do the invocation, and we do get a demo course, okay, and in this demo course, this is invoked to get the demo course, okay, and you get the invocation of the demo course in this course execution DTO, because we're going to use it, because we're going to use it afterwards in the request. Then the first thing, let's look at the test. This is a successful test, okay? And in this successful test, demo student gets a new dashboard. So the first thing you do is the login, because you need to be authenticated to do this, to invoke this web service. So you do invoke this login method. Then you do the request. So this is a get. Look, REST client get. It's a get that you have there. Okay, and you provide the path, and of course you use the course execution ID that you obtained there. So because you need to send this, and in this case that you say that the content type is JSON. Then you expect your response to have 200 values, so it's successful, and it has values. Here you can actually access the data object, and it is not done here, but it's a good idea that actually you get the correct information about each one of the what is inside the DTO, so that the conversion from DTO to JSON and JSON back to the DTO, it's okay, and it's a way to check that this is okay. And then you also check that actually the dashboard was created in the database. So you can do it, okay? It's very simple. Just to understand a little bit better how does it work, because look, this request should send a token. But where is the token? Okay? So if you read the demo student login method, we'll see demo student login is itself another request. So it's a demo login, okay? And in this login response, you receive the token, right? Because you just log in and you receive the token. And you're going to store the token in the headers, in authorization. So you need to compose the token this way and in the authorization. So afterwards, when you do the invocation here, you are sending the token with the request. Okay? Another typical test you do is, so the things you want to test here is whether it works, so you can invoke, whether you get the right conversion, you get the right data as a result. Okay, so it works, it was created in the database, you get the data if it returns DTOs. And another thing is whether you have access control working. So to have access control working, it's nice, for instance, to do this type of tests. So now, instead of logging as a teacher, you log as instead of logging as a student, you log as a teacher. And when you do this, you expect to receive forbidden. Okay, and I can actually run these tests. Okay. This is the case where I do the integration test, and you can see what happens. Okay, if they are working. Just wait a little bit, and of course you can do it as well in the command line. So, for instance, what I want to show you. This you get the dashboard, it's okay, and this one that fails, look, you have access is denied. Another thing that's interesting is that when you run these stats, actually you are invoking web services without launching the web server. The database, you need to launch the database, but not the web service. So you use a fake actually of the web service, which makes these tests faster. Okay, so that's pretty much. Thank you.